All right, so quick little story here. We've shared it before, but it has taken on new life with what's happening right now. There's nothing new under the sun. Talked a little bit about King Lear in the beginning of the show, Shakespeare, which had some parallels, which is based off a true story from King Lear, but spelled differently, the King of England in the 12th century. So there's nothing new under the sun, but we don't need to go back hundreds of years. We just go back 100 years to Woodrow Wilson. 1919, President Woodrow Wilson had a stroke. He was touring across the country on a train. He was in Colorado. There were a couple, actually, it was a couple weeks. There were some symptoms for a couple weeks, but he had a proper stroke on this train in Colorado, and they cut the tour off and they raced back to the White House. Now, a couple parallels to what happened in 1919 and today. First, tons of denial. Woodrow Wilson had 3 strokes prior to this in his life. There were some QAnon people of the early 1900s who said that he'd never make it through his first term because he's so unhealthy. But he, made it quite a ways. But there was still a year left. So after the stroke, debilitating stroke, his wife shielded him from the public. This was October 2nd, 1919. No one even knew about the stroke until February 1920. So 4-5 months went by. Now, the election was in November, so people found out about it February 1920, and the election is coming up in November, right at the end of that year. And Wilson wanted to run again. His doctors, of course, kept his condition a secret, just like his doctors are right now. We talked about his doctor in the last hour. It was like, he's fit and he's got vigor. It's like, what are you talking about? So that doctor is a liar. But there's other doctors who have seen the president. A Parkinson's expert from Walter Reed visited the White House earlier in January. So people know the true state of his condition. There's Secret Service agents who work in the White House. They know. People know what's really going on. And but very few people knew back in 1920 he wanted to run again. He was paralyzed. He couldn't get out of bed on his own. So his wife was in charge. Now Edith wrote about this in her memoir. She said, so began my stewardship. I studied every paper sent from the different secretaries or senators and tried to digest and present in tabloid form the things that, despite my vigilance, had to go to the president. So Edith was the one running the show. She was the gatekeeper to the president. And she would talk, so she'd make the decision. But then the things that she couldn't figure out on her own, she would boil it down to tabloid form, like you heard Jill do the other day. You did a great job answering the questions, Joe. Oh, Joe, great job. Like talking to a 4-year-old. That's what Edith did as well. I myself never made a single decision regarding the disposition of public affairs. The only decision that was mine was what was important and what was not. And the very important decisions of when to present matters to my husband. That's not true. She was the president for over a year, just like Jill is right now. Politically, the parallel is that Woodrow kept hanging on. Again, he wanted to run again. He wanted to run as an invalid. He couldn't get out of bed. And he wanted to run again. And because he clung on to power for so long, they never prepared a backup. And they put up the Kamala of the day, and the Republicans won in a massive landslide. Hopefully that's a parallel to what's going to happen here soon as well. But the biggest parallel of all is how the media lied throughout all of it. Louis Seibold, he was a reporter for the New York World newspaper. Headline, correspondent in 3-hour visit finds president mental vigor unimpaired. Wait, did the guy use vigor? Hold on. Did the other president, did the president's doctor use vigor in his description? Oh, please tell me yes. Where is it? Oh, where did I put it? No. Where did I put where's the? Okay, President Biden is an active, healthy, robust. Oh, okay, I used the word vigor. Okay. President Biden is an active, healthy, robust 81-year-old male. Okay, didn't use the word robust, not vigor. Anyway, but back in 1920, this correspondent in 3-hour visit finds president's mental vigor unimpaired. That's the headline. Subheadline, executive gains 20 pounds in 2 months, and he does more work than before confinement. He's never been stronger, they said. He said the stroke did nothing to impair in the slightest degree the splendid intellect of Woodrow Wilson. During the 3 hours I spent with the president, I saw him transact the important functions of his office with his old-time decisiveness, method, and keenness of intellectual appraisement. This was I guess 100 years ago. This is the Morning Joe Scarborough of 100 years ago. This president's never been better. I undersold him when I said he was cogent. He's never been. This is the best version of this president ever, he said just a few weeks ago. Same thing with this guy meeting with Woodrow Wilson, who was brain dead in bed. His faculty of expression. The correspondent heard him dictate his decisions on matters of great governmental importance with facility of expression and directness of meaning that indicated no impairment of the efficient mental machine that has known only the hardest kind of work for 40 years. They were unmistakably the Wilson eyes, keen, searching, and snappily intelligent. Again, Joe Biden's eyes. People are talking about him stumbling over words and losing trains of thought and stuff like that. No. It's his eyes. That's what people see more than anything. They see first, I should say. They see his eyes. Like, oh, whoa, what? And the same thing back then. But they're saying, oh, Wilson's eyes. Oh, keen, searching, snappily intelligent. Same hacker. It was all made up. It never happened. The article happened, but the meeting never. There was no 3-hour meeting. It was a totally made-up article by Wilson's wife, by Woodrow Wilson's chief of staff, and by the reporter. And they published it in the newspaper, and it won a Pulitzer Prize. Listen, it would be one thing if this was some hack newspaper, like the Huffington Post of the era, and whatever. Like, big deal, one guy made up a story. No, this won a Pulitzer Prize. Totally made up. Not a couple things here and there. Totally, completely, 100% didn't happen, made up. No meeting. The president was an invalid in bed, couldn't put sentences together. He was not snappily intelligent. The whole thing was a lie. And it won a Pulitzer Prize. Meanwhile, today, July 3rd, the Associated Press, Biden at 81, often sharp and focused, but sometimes confused and forgetful. But often sharp and focused. This is great. Check out this one from New York Times. This is March of this year. When he still had Alzheimer's, like things were still bad for Joe. This was just in their whole cover-up scheme. March of this year, for Joe Biden, this is New York Times, real article. For Joe Biden, what seems like age. So you think he's getting old. It may seem like age, but it might instead be style. Yes, this is a stylistic choice that the president is engaging in. He's choosing to let his sentences trail off and not know where to go to get off the stage. This is his style. In this respect, the president has something in common. Ooh, with who? Beethoven, Wagner, and Martin Scorsese. This is New York Times. Now, clearly the New York Times person who wrote this has resigned in shame, right? No, of course not. No one resigns in shame because this reporter didn't resign after their COVID coverage either. They all keep their jobs. All right, so there's just the one paragraph of this article. This is in March. In criticism, to speak of a late style is to highlight the way that certain artists at the end of their careers enter a new and distinctive phase of creativity. Sometimes they produce a succession of masterpieces that both fulfill and transcend the promise of their earlier work, Richard Wagner's final run of operas, the 3 major novels Henry James published at the start of the 20th century, the movies Martin Scorsese's making now. In other cases, an older artist will revisit familiar themes with a new sense of playfulness and freedom, like Henri Matisse's Making Cutouts, Shakespeare bending the rules of genre in The Winter's Tale and The Tempest, or Bob Dylan reshuffling the pages of his own songbook. So Joe Biden, it's just like that. You think he's old, but no. It's his late style. It's a new era of Joe. It's like Shakespeare or Bob Dylan or Henri Matisse. Just changing his style up a bit. Isn't that great? Just a couple months ago, and people who read the New York Times were like, "Oh, yeah, that's it." This all has done quite a number to media credibility. Not to you and me, because how much credibility did the media have for you 3 weeks ago before all this? Zero. Absolutely. My working assumption is that not only everything they say is a lie, but everything they say is the opposite of the truth. The media's credibility for me couldn't go lower. I cannot go lower than this. But for some people, many Democrats, also some older people, they still believe the media. They still believe it. It's wild. I don't know who that person is. I don't know. But Jack Posobiec, he said he had a conversation with a friend who is a total blue anon baby boomer MSNBC dad who hates Trump, and he's losing it. He watched the debate because he thought Trump would collapse. Remember, we played some clips of that before the debate. People saying that it's Donald Trump who has. Also, it's Donald Trump who may not make it. It's Donald Trump who has this low bar of will he make it through. Like there are people who thought Trump was the one who wasn't going to. But then he saw the opposite. Said he was so upset he couldn't even watch the post-debate analysis. There's a lot of baby boomers who grew up believing the media. They never questioned anything. Never questioned what they were being told. Still don't. There's so many people out there, like a majority of people who still think CNN is straight news, who still think that CNN is the thing that you could put up in your office break room or up at the airport because I don't want to be partisan. We're going to put CNN up because we don't want to be partisan. We don't want to put up, MSNBC's on the left, sure, but Fox News is way on the right. We don't want that. So let's put up CNN because that's like down the middle. Right? That's straight news that everybody can, they still think that. But that what happened at the debate the other day really crushed a lot of people. This is Scott Adams. He said, warning, Democrats are waking up to the knowledge that they were living in a hoaxocracy of their own making. And their leaders were the baddies all along. And that will trigger massive mental breakdowns. It's already starting on MSNBC. Conservatives are protected because they never bought into the hoaxes. Their worldview is stronger than ever. Buckle up, it's going to get crazy. There will be people who will have straight mental breakdowns, are having them over what happened, and it's all just waiting until Trump gets elected. Now, there's still going to be some who go along with it. There's still going to be, listen, Biden's opening line at the debate was that Trump told people to inject bleach in their arms to fight COVID. Not even close to true. Trump never mentioned bleach, never mentioned injecting it into arms. Like none of that is true. That was the opening line for Joe Biden at the debate. And he used that line with his George Stephanopoulos interview on Friday as well. He used that same line. So there's still some people who believe that. There's still some who believe that Trump said that. There's still some people who believe in the Charlottesville very fine people hoax. There's still some people, fewer than ever, but still a lot,